Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sedated Dev channel. Today I'm going to walk you through how to implement Redux in a Next.js and a React Native project. We will be using Redux Toolkit as it simplifies setting up Redux in your project, reducing the boilerplate code significantly. I'll be following the official Redux Toolkit documentation to ensure we're doing everything by the book. So let's get started. I have a Next.js project open here, and I have created two components. Component 1, which is just displaying a hard-coded value, and component 2, which has a button with increment label. There's no connection between these two components. And that's what we're going to implement using Redux Toolkit. I have added both the components in this file. Next, we'll go to the official docs of Redux Toolkit. Click on Get Started and then Quick Start. To begin with, we need to install Redux Toolkit and React Redux. I will install both the package, and it's done. As the installation is complete, next step is to start setting up our Redux store. So what exactly is a store? In Redux, the store is essentially the centralized location where all your application state lives. It allows your components to access and update this state. I will copy this code and create a Redux folder in our project, and inside that I will create a store file and paste the code in it. Next step is to integrate the Redux store with our Next.js app. And so to do this, we'll use the provider component from React Redux and wrap the root of our project. And then I'll copy the import statements for now. Now, it's a common practice to keep any kind of root wrappers in a single file. So I will create a providers file. Inside it, I'll get the children as prop. I will paste the import statements and then wrap children with the Redux provider. Next step is to add this provider's component in our root layout. So we do it like this. All right, the import statement for store is wrong. We need to import the store that we have created. So let me quickly fix it. And it's fixed. Next step is to create a Redux state slice. Now, what's a Redux state slice? A slice in Redux Toolkit is a way to define a piece of your application state and the reducers that handle updating that state. So, for example, if you're managing a counter, which is what we're doing here, you create a slice that handles the state and actions related to that counter. I'll copy the entire code and create a file name counter slice inside the Redux folder and paste the code. And now let's see what all we have inside this slice file. First, we have the initial state, which holds any initial state values. In case of our counter, we have the initial value set to 0. And then we use the create slice function from Redux Toolkit to actually create the slice. We need to give this slice a name, pass the initial state, and then add the reducer, which has all the actions to update the state. This automatically generates what's known as action creators and action types in vanilla Redux. As we can see, we have 3 actions here: increment, decrement, and increment by amount. increment will increase the value of our counter by 1, and decrement will decrease it by 1. Increment by amount will increase the counter by any amount that we pass. One thing to note is redux slice allows us to directly mutate the state. That's what we are doing here by directly using state.value. We then export all these actions, which can then used by any components, as well as we export the reducer. Next step is to add this slice in our store. We do this by adding the reducer that we exported from our slice file into the reducer object in our store like this. We can give the key here any name, but ideally it should correspond to the slice, and this is the name that we have to use while accessing the state. And it's done. Now the final step is to actually use our redux state for component 1. I will copy this line and paste it back here. As we can see, we have to use selector hook from React Redux to access redux state. And we can then access the counter value by using the key that we used in our store like this. And then I will display this value. Now for component 2, I will copy this line. And paste it right here. For calling actions, we have to use this use dispatch hook from React Redux. So I will call it in on click prop of the button. We call the dispatch function. We then pass increment action as the argument to the dispatch function. This increment action is the one that we exported from our counter slice. Let's save it, and then it should work. That's it. As you can see, it is working as expected. Now I'll quickly add another button here. It will be decrement button. And inside dispatch, I will instead call the decrement action that we exported from our counter slice. And it works as expected. Let me show another example of using Redux Toolkit to update user details. For that, I will create a copy of our counter slice. I will name it as user slice. Change its name to user. And inside the initial state, I will store 2 keys, name and email, with empty string as initial values. And I'll remove all these actions and write a new action to update the user details. Let's name the action as update user. The first param of any action is always the state, and the second param will be any payload that we pass while dispatching the action. I will destructure the payload to get the key and value. and simply update the state like this. Then let's export this action. Update the name of the slice. And then add this slice into I'll go to component 1 and update it to display name and email from our user state. Since we are not using a single value, I'll destructure our user state to get the name and email like this. And then component 2, I'll add 2 inputs for name and email. Let's give them some border. And then the important part on change, we will dispatch the update user action. We will pass the key and value as params. And do the same for email field. These keys, name and email, are the keys that we have used in our state in user slice. Now let's see if it works. All right, looks like there is some issue. Let me think. Okay, let me check the user slice. Yeah, the payload. The second argument is actually an object inside which we get the payload. This should fix it. Yeah, and it's working. So that's how we implement Redux in a Next.js project. The same implementation will work in any React project. Next, let's see how to do it in a React Native project. I have created this basic React Native project, and just like the Next.js project, added component 1 and 2. Component 1 is displaying a hard-coded value, and component 2 has a button. Again, I will install the same dependencies here. And then I'll simply copy the entire Redux folder from the Next.js project inside our React Native project. I'll delete the user slice as it is not required. Inside the counter slice, everything remains same. Next step, integrate Redux with our app by using the provider. And I'll simply add the provider in our root app file and wrap the children with it. Let me fix the import statement of our store. Okay, we need to remove the user slice from our store. So Redux integration is done. Now, the final step is using the state values in component 1. I'll copy the useSelector code from component 1 in Next.js project, paste it in component 1 of our React Native project, change it to counter.value, and then show the value in the text component. Now in component 2, we will write the dispatch code. And then on press of the button, we will dispatch the increment action. That's it. It is working as expected. Let me create a decrement button quickly and dispatch the decrement action. It is working as expected as well. Let me also show the increment by amount action. I will call the increment by amount action inside the dispatch and pass 20 as the amount. As you can see, it increments the value by 20. So that's how you can handle global state management using Redux. If this video was useful in any way, then please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below what else you guys want to see or anything related to the video. If you like the content till now, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.